'80s paranoia has ruined fruit forever. Stop that. Throw out your own apples. Well, g'day, you bunch of hosers, and welcome back to my programming. Was that Canadian? I don't know. That's my best impression of a Canadian. This despite the fact that I am a Canadian. I guess what I'm doing is more of like an interpretive dance of what you believe a Canadian is. That aside, today we are gonna celebrate Canadian culture as I know it by taking a look at 21 Canadian Halloween treats that you cannot get in the United States. There's absolutely no other treats in Canada that you can't get in the States. I mean, possibly. On the other hand, there's still probably like 200 more that I completely forgot about. But these are the ones that come to mind when I think about Canadian exclusives. So let's just go grab a dart, bud. Hey, what's a dart? Oh, yeah, no, I don't do that. Okay, I need to stop trying to be a Canadian. Let's get this party started. We are kicking things off with the classic treat to end all classic treats. These are Smarties. I know in the US of A, you have something called Smarties. We'll get to those a little bit later on. These are not as you know them. These are a little bit closer to M&Ms, but not quite. These were actually invented in 1937 before M&Ms were ever a thing. So you know where the idea was stolen from. That's right, Canada. I grew up with a ton of Saturday morning cartoon advertising around these, specifically the mega popular campaign. When you eat your Smarties, do you eat the red ones last? I mean, sometimes I probably do. I just grab a handful and shove them in. I'm a disgusting human being. Maybe the highlight of my childhood was 1988 when they rolled out with a blue Smartie in the pack replacing the old light brown ones. I was stupidly convinced each one tasted different. They don't. These are not as I remember them from childhood though, because in 2006, Smarties announced this campaign to stop using artificial dyes and only rely on natural color. Like, this is not the nuclear blue color I had when I was a kid. You could have used those to make flashlights. What I really like about Smarties though is, unlike those liars at M&M who say, melt in your mouth, not in your hand. No, they totally melt in your hand and turn your hands into a rainbow color of disaster. My 4-year-old, he'll eat M&Ms, wipe his hands on the side of the couch. It takes forever to get those out. These could sit in your hand for an eternity. They're not gonna melt because the coating is so hard. I love these. I would describe the crunch as the same thing you'd get off a cornflake. Maybe weird way to describe candy, but these are genuinely good. I'm not gonna rate anything today because I'm a proud Canadian who's proud of everything we're putting out there today. With a couple of notable exceptions, and we'll cover those when we get to them. Smarties, sorry you don't have them. This is a Caramilk bar. In the States, you're probably more familiar with this as a Cadbury Caramello, but those are a little bit different. Our version is a little less sweet and far less chewy. The Caramellos are like super chewy caramel. These are almost syrupy in texture. Yeah, it's far runnier. Is runnier a way you want to describe your candy? Probably not. They come in these individualized little squares, and the big ad campaign surrounding this is, can you figure out the Caramilk secret? They pour the chocolate mold, dump some caramel on it, put another mold on top. It's science, guys. These get replicated in different forms. If you've lived in Canada, you know your kids are gonna come home every spring trying to sell these to you, but called like school caramel treats, and they charge like $5 a bar. As much of a ripoff as that sounds, I still wind up buying the entire case. The Crunchie. This is about as old school as it gets, invented in 1929, and it's known for its honeycomb center. I was asked in the last video I did to do more cross sections. I think I'll do that with this candy bar. You deserve a good cross section. So, standard chocolate candy bar, but look at that. The center is rock hard honeycomb candy, and you bite it. It's just straight sugar, but it's glorious. They call it sponge toffee, it's honeycomb. I first discovered these at summer camp when I was 8 years old. Another kid got one. And right away, I was absorbed by these things. It was about the only thing that I wanted to order from our tuck shop. Super addicting, super Canadian. I don't know why y'all don't have it. I don't know why you don't have an equivalent. Feel your jealousy though. That second bite is gonna be a mistake. I've got 21 treats to get through and like no sugar tolerance. I don't have a gallbladder and my body's like, sugar, no thank you. But guys, I'm totally doing this for you and not because I want to eat a pile of sugar. All right, the Kinder Surprise Egg. This was invented in 1974 by Ferrero, makers of the Rocher, and it's illegal in the USA because it is illegal to offer any food product that contains not a food product inside. If I were to import this from Canada into the US, I could be arrested on federal charges. It's a capital offense. It would lead to my death from choking on the small pieces inside the egg. It's a tough but fair punishment. But seriously though, USA, this is what you've decided to regulate? Yeah, I'm judging. You've got your beautiful candy shell that I have halved, and then inside, this is what you're going to choke on, by the way. This is what the government is saving you from. You get a little toy with instructions. The toys are never very hard to put together. Years ago, these were a pain. You'd get like 50 tiny little pieces, but now they usually give you like 2 or 3 big pieces to put together, and it's largely unsatisfying. I've probably got like 100 of these little Kinder toys kicking around the house. My son gets eggs for rewards when he does good things. Like if he was slinging soup over Thanksgiving for the homeless, he'd get a Kinder Egg. He's only 4, but man, he's motivated. The actual chocolate is kind of garbage. Yeah, it's not good. It's got this weird waxy texture to it. You're doing this for the fun little toy. Sorry that this one is so small, but these I'm giving out at Halloween, and I had a bunch of Halloween-sized treats. This is an Aero bar. Folks from the States that are my age, you're gonna recognize this. These were sold for a while in the 1980s, weren't very popular, so they disappeared from shelves. They've been around since 1935. They're known for being bubbly chocolate. Let's break it apart. And look at that. You can see those milky little bubbles, and it's fantastic. You just put it on the tip of your tongue. And it melts so much easier than, say, a Hershey bar, because the Hershey bar is like thick chocolate all the way through. This is gonna disappear in seconds. It's like getting a rich hot chocolate in the form of a candy bar. I gotta stop eating the whole things. My body's already unhappy, and I'm like, what, 5 treats in? Dill Pickle Chips. These are not as much a Halloween classic because they don't sell them in the little Halloween-sized bags, but if you hit the right house, you might get one that's this size. Those are the best houses. Not like the house that gives you a bruised apple. Why are you giving those to kids? You know we have to throw them out. We can't eat anything that doesn't come in its own package, and yeah, sure, the apple is its own package, but you could have slipped like a needle or a razor blade. Like, they're going in the trash. 80s paranoia has ruined fruit forever. Stop that. Throw out your own apples. Now, this is borderline in terms of being a Canadian exclusive, but I'm running with it. It's my channel, my rules. Basically, if you live in some of the northern states, you might come across these in your Walmarts, but anywhere further south than, say, Montana, you're probably not seeing these. I don't know, I'm talking out of my butt. I'm just thinking northern states. If you've seen these in New Mexico, don't come at me. That first smell is the best part of this. It's just instant nostalgia for me. I believed as a kid that these were made with genuine dill pickle brine. I couldn't think of any other way to flavor these pickle style. I remember once taking a bag full of regular chips. I wanted something flavored, so I poured some pickle brine over top. Turns out it makes them soggy, gross, and inedible. As a result, these always continue to wow me. Of course, if you watched my video about Frank's Red Hot Pizza Pops, I believe that's the one where I waxed poetic about Hostess potato chips. It's Hostess dill pickle chips that I grew up on. They were far greasier and far more covered in flavor. Lay's is still good. They're crunchier, they taste fresher, but just for a dirty, greasy chip experience, man, do I miss the Hostess ones. Still, these will always have a place on my Halloween tier chart. If my son happens to score any this year, they are totally disappearing from his loot bag overnight. I don't know what happened. Somebody must have broken in. I'm so sorry. And because there's no sugar, I can keep going. Should we just sit here for like a half hour while I eat dill pickle chips? No, I'd probably lose subscribers. Okay, let's move on. Hickory sticks. Hostess hickory sticks. These are the only chip product still remaining under the Hostess label. It reads, Hickory sticks. Love them for the crunch, Love them for the munch, love them for the taste. Thin cut, lightly seasoned, and delicious. And thin cut they are. They are little, tiny shoestring potatoes, and they're phenomenal. Crazy strong hickory flavor. If you've ever had like bacon potato chips, you're probably in the right vein. These have a certain je ne sais quoi. Maybe it's because they're not in a potato chip form, they're in these little strings, you wind up getting even more crunch than you get out of a potato chip, which is pretty crazy. At Halloween, you'd never get a bag this big, but they do come in little Halloween-sized gift bags. Another treat that's gonna magically disappear from my son's stash. Sorry, kid. I hear you. I'm an awful father, and I feel just terrible. Coffee Crisp! I'd have to say, on the list of Canadian exclusive treats, this is probably the #1 thing Americans yearn for, which makes me wonder why they have never found their way into the US. These were introduced in 1938, initially called Biz Crisp. That is a stupid name, and I think they realized it, quickly rebranding it to Coffee Crisp. And pro tip for those of you living in the Orlando area, from what I understand, the Canadian section at Epcot does carry these. So if you happen to go trick-or-treating at Disney World, get a bunch of these. Tell them I sent you. They won't have a clue who that is, but that's okay. These have been subject to a number of ads over the years. What generally happens is you'll get some old curmudgeon sitting in a diner and somebody will come up and go, "How do you like your coffee?" And they'll go, "I like my coffee crisp." And then the waiter just falls over and dies. I guess that's the punchline. Meanwhile, we're all supposed to be sitting back going, "Coffee crisp, I got it." And we do. That's the kind of humor we like in Canada. Probably. Their other ad campaign is it makes a nice, light snack. Those are forgettable. I feel like this needs a cross-section. Let me get my knife. Okay, here we go. So basically what you've got is a coffee-flavored wafer cookie in the middle, coated in milk chocolate. Super simple, super fantastic. I want so bad to eat the other half, but I'm never gonna get, to hell with it. I'm gonna die like treat number 13. Totally okay. This is a big Turk. I only know this is Canadian because I just read about it on a list. At no point in my life have I ever known anybody who's actually eaten one of these things. It's Turkish delight covered in dark chocolate. And I'm not even kidding. I'm near certain I've never eaten one. And I'm near certain I've never been with anybody who's eaten one. Like, I'm not exaggerating for the sake of this video. No one eats these. This right here feels like a leftover from the original run of production in 1930, and we are still trying to unload them on people. See, now that's an exaggeration and a joke, and we know it is because it's got a calorie count on it, and in the 1930s, they did not know what a calorie was, or how to count them, maybe. So it looks like a McRib, probably made from the exact same ingredients, probably not as tasty. Oh, and it like bends, I can't even bend it. I'm not gonna cross-section it, it probably just looks like a gummy bear, you know what that looks like. That is disgusting, and if I didn't know that I had Coffee Crisp up here, I'd renounce my citizenship like right now. Oh, that's horrible. That's me wiping away my memories of a big Turk. Let's find something better. Yeah, now we're talking. And no, I know what you're saying. Whoa, hold up, Chris. We have KitKat in the United States. I know. But you don't have this KitKat. Sure, it's the same wrapper. Sure, it's the same font, I think. But the Canadian version is made by Nestle. The American version is made by Hershey, and that matters because these are a little bit lighter in terms of the chocolate. I find the chocolate on these a lot less rich. I'm not sure if you're following me, but I find Hershey to be an exceptionally rich chocolate. It's just over chocolatey. You're not letting me back into your country again, are you? I'm sorry, I take it all back. I love you. And you always break off one of these fingers. I would never dare just take a bite down the middle. I am not a savage. We're gonna eat this in a refined fashion, like a polite Canadian. And here's something I learned not too long ago. Imperfect KitKats that don't pass quality control for how they're supposed to look. Like from an ingredients position, they're okay. But they don't look right. Those get broken down and put into the middle of new KitKats. But assuming that that batch is also going to have rejects, those get broken down and put back in. So the KitKat you are eating is infinite KitKats. But if you're in the States, you're not eating KitKats like this. And I'll let you know when you own us, you don't own us on the KitKat front. Canadian KitKats, better than the American counterparts. And I really say that with all due respect. Mackintosh Toffee. I would do a Scottish accent to build this up, but I don't have a good one, and I don't wish to offend the Scottish people. Even crazier, my background is allegedly Scottish. Hey, I've got a knock-knock joke for you, though. You ready? I'm not giving you a choice. Who's there? Dishes. Dishes who? Dishes Sean Connery. That's my Scottish joke. All right, Macintosh. These are the oldest candy that we are looking at today. They were invented all the way back in 1890. Nestle acquired these in 2008 and made the toffee softer. Probably a good thing they did. I'm fairly sure that they were sued constantly over dental work. Those old ones were like hard as rocks and chewy. You just pull it out along with every filling in your mouth. I have not had one of these since the old jawbreaker Macintoshes were a thing. I mean, it still looks the same to me. Like a giant piece of Laffy Taffy. Oh, hang on. This is not happening. Nope, I'm not eating this. I have no desire to lose my teeth. I just started a new job and I haven't looked into the dental plan yet. This isn't candy, it's a mouth guard. If you're an American who wants to try that, not that one specifically, but try one, go ahead, you can have them all. That wasn't fun. We need something more fun. I think I've got the winner. Hawkins Cheezies. These were invented in the town of Tweed back in 1949. Tweed is also the home of Canadian serial killer Colonel Russell Williams. Coincidence? Unlikely. You know, I can't even hear the name of the city of Tweed without hearing Dateline's Keith Morrison's voice in the back of my head, saying it with like a twinge of evil. Tweed. Gives me a chill every time. Also on the creepy side, Hawkins has had multiple plants burned down over the course of their history. You can take that to mean whatever you like. So Cheezies, and the reason the Canadians are so crazy about these, are different from Cheetos because there's a lot more powder on each individual piece, and they use an old sharp cheddar. You see it's got the usual bright orange color you would expect from an appropriate cheesy. They're very good. I do prefer the style of these hard ones over Puffs, but I would still defer to Cheetos. I personally find the Cheeto is a little bit more balanced, but if you're like looking for an explosion of just flavor, these are probably it. I just can't imagine eating more than like 15 of them and having to call it a day because it's so overwhelming. Very good though. This is a Mr. Big. It got its name because it is the largest bar produced by Cadbury and not because it looks like Chris Noth from Sex and the City. You know, you probably also figured out too, if I was one of the Sex and the City girls, I'm a Carrie, even though I kind of wish I was a Samantha. They're known for their ad campaign, "When you're this big, they call you Mr.," which would actually be a good tagline for somebody in the adult film industry. So the thing I dislike about these is they just look like giant turd logs. It's not appealing, but let's cross-section this bad boy. This thing has everything. It's got peanuts, it's got caramel, it's got nougat. It's got a seductive name. Later in my camp career, after I'd gone through my Crunchie stage, this became my go-to from the tuck shop because I figured I was getting my most bang for the buck. Mr. Big, I get more candy. Fat kids always think in quantity. It's how we operate. These are great. 5,000 calories sitting on my side table right now. This is a Wunderbar, not to be confused with a Wunderbra. However, with that in mind, both the Wunderbra and the Wunderbar are here to offer you support. This one's for when you're feeling sad. It's true. I use these for emotional support all the time. These used to be advertised as the munchiest bar ever, and amazingly, that used to be my online dating name. So, cross-section wise, it basically looks like a Rolo, but this here in the middle, it's like this crunchy, peanut buttery stuff. Don't tell my system. I've already got the crazy sugar sweats going on. This is gonna be the worst night I've been through since Tom Brady left for Tampa Bay. I'm still not over it, Tom. Ketchup chips! A Canadian staple that does not taste like ketchup at all. Oh, the vinegar gets you. Like, I just cleared my sinuses. I didn't even know my sinuses were backed up. I do now. Woo! These are some powerful chips. These are not the same ketchup chips that America had during their Do Us a Flavor contest a few years ago. Those actually tried to taste like ketchup and they were disgusting. I love this deep burgundy color on the chips. Like, the only way these could be less ketchup is if they were green. But man, they're good. It's like a highly concentrated vinegar in the best possible way. Vinegar and potatoes are like Kanye and Kim. You know they belong together. They're what? Oh. I'll need to edit that out later. And did you know, I just learned this from reading the back, these are made in Canada from domestic and imported ingredients. Moving on, Jos Louis. Not a moon pie, Jos Louis. And not, as I once heard it called, a Jewy Louis? No. I can understand screwing up on the Joe though, because it's spelled J-O-S. It's a French thing. It's a chocolate cream-filled cake covered in more chocolate. It's Canada's greatest cream pie. Please do not Google that. That's on you. I'm warning you. These were invented in 1932, and I'm fairly sure has been the center point of every Quebec referendum ever since. The reason they're trying to separate is because they want to use this for currency, and they know we'll pay. Nice red velvety cake. Man. That's nostalgia right there. It was like one of the 3 things my tiny little high school sold in its canteen. I'm fairly sure I single-handedly kept that place in business. That and the little fuzzy peaches. Mars bars. If you're an American over the age of 25, you almost certainly recognize this. I actually think they still have Mars bars in the United States with almonds in them, but they don't have the original anymore. Those have been gone since about 2002. These were invented in 1932, and truth be told, I'm only going to give Canada partial ownership on this one. They're a lot more popular in the UK. It's caramel, it's nougat. They're fine, but they're too plain. I need some contrast in there. Peanuts would add a ton. A Snickers is better. You're not missing anything by having these off the shelves. All dressed chips. So the all dressed flavor is definitely uniquely Canadian. We use it on a lot of different things, but when Canadians talk about all dressed chips, they're talking about the Ruffles version. As far as I'm concerned, it is the only version of all dressed. Nobody else has mastered the combination the way these guys have. It's some combination of ketchup, barbecue, salt, and vinegar, which I guess is evident by the picture of the onion, the salt and vinegar and tomato. You know, all the dressings. But the Ruffles brand has just hit the flavor mark in such a perfect way, it can't be replicated. Perfect. These are the world's most perfect chip, and I'm willing to die on the sword for that one. It's peak chipdom. That's a word. You know, at church, when you get those little tiny wafers, and the priest sets it in your hand and he says, the body of Christ given to you, he should be giving you these instead. These are God's chips, which I guess makes them part of God's body, but that's okay. This is everything I could ever possibly want. Probably should have ended on this. Everything, it's all downhill from here. If you're taking off because you know you've seen the best possible treat in this, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. You're hanging around. You want to know what else we got. Crispy Crunch. As a kid, I couldn't remember which is which, so I'd always confuse Crunchie and Crispy Crunch and ask for the wrong thing. It was far easier once I could point at the gold wrapper and tell the shopkeeper what I wanted. But these are good in their own right, and I've come to appreciate them more as I've gotten older. So these were invented by a 14-year-old back in the 1920s who worked at Nielsen's. With the Roaring 20s, child slave labor was all the rage. Anyway, this one young lad wanted a candy bar with peanut butter in the middle. So when the company held a contest for, you know, everybody from ages 5 through 14 to enter their best submissions, I made that one part up. But they did genuinely hold a contest for all staff, and he entered a version of this that looked more like a big rolled up log with peanut butter in the middle, but the executives loved it and gave him $5 whole. And that was all he was getting for the rest of the year because he was a kid and he had no rights. Well, this turned dark. So this was sold to Cadbury in 1996. And the version we have today is sweeter than the one I had when I was a kid. They decided that maybe the salt didn't appeal to as broad a market, so they focused more on adding sugar to the peanut butter to make it more palatable to the masses. To which I say, give me back my salt. So it's dehydrated peanut butter, which is what makes it a crispy crunch. It's been a long time since I've had one. I actually think this is the best thing I've had today. I didn't expect this. Getting real with you for a sec. I'm not joking when I say I have low sugar tolerance. I don't eat a lot of candy as a result. Man, if you like peanut butter, you like chocolate. I'm about to say something that's gonna cost me every viewer I've got. These are better than peanut butter cuts. It's not gospel, it's just my word. My word being always right. If you haven't had one, get your hands on these, you'll be a convert. Rockets. This is what you know as Smarties. So when I had Smarties early and you got all confused, well now it's time to be extra confused because my Rockets are your Smarties and my Smarties are your sort of M&Ms. You following along at home? It's been like half an hour since I started this thing and I'm partially delirious. I'm sweating like an executive on the Washington football team right now. My God. Everybody knows what these are because these wind up in every child's Halloween bag around the world. When I was a kid at daycare or playing with my friends at the park, I used to pretend that these were pills that gave you magic powers. And each color would give you a different power. So say, for example, I ate this red one. Now I'm invisible, and my friends theoretically couldn't see me. But if I were to take this green one, I'd be super fast. No one could catch me. This was all living in my head. Exactly what probably would have been occurring if I'd been taking real pills on the playground. How I never fell down a hole to chronic dependency, I'll never know. What kind of childhood games was I playing? Take these magic pills. And my friends would all get in there. I'm covered in my pocket lint. They don't care. They're junkies for rockets now, so they're just popping away. I'm invisible. I'm fast. I have long hair. That's my superpower. So we've learned that even as a child, I was a bastard of a role model, and I apologize for whatever my own child is going to evolve into. We made it. Candy number 21, the very last one on this list, and thank God my heart is palpitating. I may need an ambulance. What color is my face right now? I feel like it's the same color of this bag of goodies. So goodies, these are the Canadian version of good and plenty. These are divisive. One of two things is gonna happen. Either you love black licorice and you are gonna be in candy heaven, or you're gonna wanna punch somebody. So if you hate black licorice, you're gonna hate these. And if you hate black licorice, you're wrong. Black licorice is the bomb. And what I love about these, in contrast to the Good and Plenty, is that every candy shell is actually flavored. I just ate an orange one. You get orange and black licorice. This yellow one, I'm guessing it tastes like yellow. Got white. It tastes like a CEO. You know, that's just how these go. They're slightly slimmer, and the licorice is a little bit harder than a Good and Plenty. But because each shell has its own candy-coated flavor, they're a million times better. How many times today have I described candy as being a million times better than its American counterparts? It's probably only like 1.8 times better. I'm just really not descriptive, and I rely on the same 4 words. So there you have it, every candy that is uniquely Canadian. If you enjoyed this crazy journey through our moose knuckle of a country, is that a good description? All right, let's try that again. If you have enjoyed this journey through our maple syrup drinking country, then I would love it if you liked this video, issued a comment below, and of course hit the subscribe button. Your support is a godsend in helping this channel grow. We've seen a lot of new traffic over the last week. I cannot thank you enough. So I'm gonna go lie down. I'm gonna possibly call 911. And if I survive long enough to tell this tale and upload the video on Saturday, I will catch you on the next one. Ciao for now.